is one that's a little bit hard to believe, but according to this article from Farmland Riches, so an estimated 2,000 acres of farmland is lost every day in the United States due to urban expansion. And that could be either residential houses, neighborhoods, or commercial stuff such as shopping malls or restaurants or strip malls or anything like that. And, when I first heard this story, it was a little bit hard to believe because 2,000 acres every day. So, day after day, year after year, it's kind of concerning. So you have more people and less farmland. So where's the point of we're in trouble here? So, and according to this other article from Global Agricultural Productivity, more than 31 million acres have been lost to urban expansion since 1982. But in the year 2022 alone, we lost 1.9 million acres due to this urban expansion. So, when I first heard this, it's hard to believe, there's no way. But just from personal experience, so when I drive to work, I have a short route and then a long route that I can take. And every so often, I'll just take the long route for a change of scenery. And I'll be driving down a pretty major highway in left and right, new houses, new subdivision, new businesses all over the place. And from where I live to where I work, it goes through some rural areas, country areas, a lot of farmland. And it's pretty insane, just the amount of new construction and all this. So what are your opinions? Because it's off the top, it just sounds like a problem. You have more people and you have less farmland. So,
It's definitely one of those cases where the math does not add up, and it's got to give at some point. And construction isn't going to stop. Development's not going to stop because that's way more lucrative than farming a row crop or farming animals. I think where it gets us in trouble is that the topic of food security for the U.S. because at that point, we will keep expanding. There's housing needs already. That's at a net negative, and so it'll create dependency. We'll have to import a lot of stuff, and then I just don't think it'll slow down. I don't see it slowing down the money that gets dumped into these developments, whether it be apartment complexes, highways, housing,
yeah,
and there's going to be a lot of good ground, a lot of valuable topsoil that gets lost and is underneath houses and underneath pools and stuff. And so I think the biggest concern is it's going to create a dependency, right? And then we've seen, obviously, with the last couple of years of how that supply chain can get messed up. And I think so. So you also have the supply chain issue side of it, and then there's the other flip side that's sort of building momentum is the animal welfare side, right? I don't know if you've really seen a lot of that, but California is passing laws of these specifically pork in California, but the factory farming sort of
yeah,
setup is obviously horrifying and makes you not want to eat meat. And so what they're doing now is implementing laws for animal welfare. So now that ever shrinking footprint of agriculture has to produce less because, rightfully so, I think, the pig or cow or chicken is supposed to have so many square feet, for itself. And so, yeah, the math definitely doesn't add up, and it's going to butt heads. The urbanization, the development, and the agriculture is going to butt heads. And it's not even to mention the agriculture we're losing to foreign investment. That's a
right.
whole nother weird thing, politics thing we don't have to get into now, but it's going to butt heads. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe lab grown meat or something. And
Yeah,
just even with the conservative estimate of 2,000 acres a day, I did some math. That's 750,000 acres a year, right? And
right.
so
Yeah,
I think it's just going to speed up. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely don't have an answer to it, but it's going to cause an issue.
Yeah, so where I live in South Alabama, so they consider a fully functional farm that can sustain a family that works it. You have to have a minimum of 1,000 acres to really be able to make a profit off of your row crops, or if you have cows mixed in, you have to have 1,000 acres. So that's basically two family farms every day shut down or put out of business just because of
Yeah.
lack of land. So that's pretty insane to think about. Every day, two family farms of 1,000 acres, and you can produce a lot of. In my case, where I live, Alabama, cotton, peanuts. You can produce a lot of peanuts uh, off of 1,000 acres. So that's a lot of Snickers bars that are not going to be on the shelves in the upcoming years. But one of the articles touched on this fact too that you kind of touched on also is the fact that the land that these real estate developers and just individuals that want to live on. So if a family like a an older farmer passes away and then their kids inherit the land, but they don't want to farm it, they're going to put that land up for sale. And if a
Yeah.
farmer down the road wants to purchase that land, he can't because the land is priced so high now because these realtors and these developers are coming in to buy this land. It's three or four times what they can pay to add to their farmland. So instead of Farmer Joe farming it, now Farmer Ted down the road wants to take it over, but he can't afford it even remotely, just because these developers are coming in and just stripping it and turning it into a neighborhood where they're going to sell a half-acre lot for 60, 70 thousand dollars. And you can't compete with that. So
Yeah, and
we,
and that's I think that's where sorry to cut you off. That's where the issue lies for land value is I think the value that gets tied to it is essentially sort of the development worth, not the row crop worth, to where like
I'm
I said, the
sure.
farmer down the road can't afford to buy it because he's not putting apartments on it. You know what I mean? He's going to get
Right.
two crops a year from it, maybe if he's lucky, and so the value just isn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about people living nowadays in the cities. The cities are becoming more dangerous. A lot of just crime and people right on top of each other. Everybody's dream is to, ooh, I want to move out to the country, which, a lot of people have different definitions of what the country is, but, everybody's dream is to, ooh, I want to
Mm-hmm.
get a 2 or 3 acre lot out on the outskirts of outskirts of town where I'm still close to town, but, I still have my privacy. And there's only so much of that land on this earth that's available. So,
Yeah.
you know, you think about it, and then, well, what's the solution? Is the solution to get the government involved? The less stuff the government's involved in, the better, I think. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to get to a point where, you go down, you drive through your state, and it's, concrete jungle is all you see, so to speak. So, I don't know what the solution is, but that's a staggering number: 2,000
Yeah.
acres a day being lost.
That's wild, and I think what also adds to that not getting the attention it deserves is most people obviously don't live on acreage or they live in a city. They can't comprehend the size of
Sure.
2,000 acres. And I was looking it up, and so that figure that I said it adds up to about 750,000 acres per year. Well, to give you an idea, New York City, not the state, but the New York City, big city, right? It's only 193,000 acres,
Yeah.
right? And
Wow.
so, and obviously that's not one of the bigger cities footprint wise, but it's a huge city. So you figure, we're losing three of those, sometimes four of those every single year. And like you're saying, there's no more being made. And I think the solution, it's much less of a solution, but just a reality is there will be more concrete jungles. I think we're going
Yeah.
to outsource we're going to outsource a lot of this stuff. South America is deforesting quickly. We got to outsource it. We're importing all of our stuff from down there. Climate's fine for it too. So I think it's going to be just this mass urbanization and concrete jungles, and we got to burn down the other jungles that are left to plant soy, and corn,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and stuff that's keeps the world going, but isn't doesn't bring a ton of value. Depending on what you tie value to, but yeah, we're just going to be knocking down a lot of biodiversity to plant corn, and then eventually, extrapolate that 100 years down the road, and you either live in a city, or if you go outside of the city, there's no more forest. It's just row crops, and maybe the animal farming will be gone. We'll be eating lab grown meat. But
I'll
but
pass.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if there is a solution. You can take the the New World Order type depopulation type strategy, but I don't know
Yeah.
if that's allowed to say. But no, that's I think just it's going to keep shrinking. and we're gonna lose. I think we're just gonna keep losing really good topsoil. That's one thing that a lot of people don't put into this is, especially in the southeast, there's a lot of great soil. Ukraine comes up a lot for their black soil, healthy soil. It's the grain belt or whatever over there for Europe, and I think the U.S. is losing a lot of good topsoil to houses
Yeah.
developments.
Yeah, so what I've seen a lot, like I said, South Alabama is where I live. So you'll have a field, and down in the South, we don't have wide open, vast fields. We have a lot of trees. So you have probably a
Yeah,
40-acre field, a 30-acre field, a 20-acre field, just, here, there, everywhere, just scattered amongst. So the roads that go through these fields and separate them that, people travel on, what they do is they just go along the front edge of that road and then just build houses, 400 or 500 feet into that field off the road. So some of these fields are still able to be farmed. You just have less production. So I
yeah,
think that's better than just going and putting a whole neighborhood in there, a subdivision. But at a point, it's a compounding problem. We
yeah.
just rolled over to 8 billion people in the world, and 30 years ago, was it like 3 or 4 billion? So we've doubled the population of the Earth in just I don't know the exact number of years. Probably shouldn't quote it on here, but
Well, sure, a fraction of the time that we've been here,
sure.
for sure.
So 20 years down the road, we're going to have another 8 billion. Then we'll have 16 billion, so to speak. So there's just going to be more people. So that's more mouths. So I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
crazy situation to think about.
and I think I would encourage people to take to grasp it is go try to see what 2,000 acres is. Find
Yeah.
something near you. Look on a map. Go to the property appraisers or whatever to find the parcel sizes and go. Okay, look at that big high school. With the whole, what's the whole property? I can see the whole thing. The whole, tennis courts and football
Yeah.
field, and you look at it, and you're gonna go, oh wow, that's only 20 acres,
Right.
max.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and then 2,000 of that, like I said, every day, and it's not, and like you said, you mentioned like the 2022 numbers was staggeringly high, and I think that's just the highest tick because it's the most
Sure.
recent year.
Oh yeah.
2023 is going to be even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and it's one of those things. You hear a lot of talk about the economy and what's going on, and sometimes construction and development slows down, but for the most part, it's tracking upwards. We're
Yeah.
definitely not tearing down houses and parking
Yeah.
lots and returning it back to farmland. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
And
it's gonna butt heads. It's gonna butt heads
you
sometime.
gotta you gotta think the past 2 or 3 years, we've had record low interest rates. So, all these builders just crazy slam
Yeah.
houses going up left and right. Uh, Even people building subdivisions, shopping malls, strip malls, just
Hmm.
anything. Money was cheap. You could borrow it for almost nothing. So everybody was building everything. So,
Yeah.
that was probably a big tick of that 1.9 million that was lost. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
insane. And to give you a little perspective, 1 square mile consists of, I believe it's 640 acres. So if you drive for 1 mile, turn left, drive for a mile, turn left, drive for a mile, turn left, drive for a mile, make a square, that's 640 acres is 1 square mile. So,
Mm.
you got three of those about for 2,000 acres a day. So it's one of those subjects you talk about it long enough, it makes you feel depressed, like what's the solution? How's
Well,
this
that's
end?
crazy. And so let's see. We need to end our story with a positive outcome. All right. So we
Okay,
got to
I'm
give
ready for it.
hope for the world. Oh, I'm coming up with it. Oh, I didn't. I thought you may have a positive outcome. No, I'm just kidding.
Not here.
I think the positive outcome will be. Well, I was going to say more genetically modified crops to produce more, but that's a touchy subject.
Well, a
More
positive would
chemical
be,
fertilizers. I don't
yeah.
know.
Or if you're a landowner and you have some prime real estate, you're in for a massive payday. So, if you're a
Yeah. Well,
landowner,
yeah.
hey, you're in
Well,
luck. But if,
eventually, so eventually the cost will catch up, and your corn and your cereal will be $20 a
sure.
box of cereal, and then maybe
Yeah.
maybe at that point a farmer could turn a profit because right now, yeah, and that doesn't even go into the fact of small farms really struggling. I think it'll keep condensing. We'll get larger farms that will hog up land, and
Yeah.
sprinkle in a little, well, I'll say genetically modified crops with a little bit of warming of the planet. Maybe we get 3 grow seasons. Maybe we don't have a winter anymore. I think
You heard it here first. Global
yeah,
warming is not a bad thing. No, I'm kidding.
right, the positive side effects of global warming.
Sure.
And I think maybe maybe I think trade will be a big deal. I think there will be areas to where population density and it's not worth it to urbanize as quickly as we are, and I think you'll see a lot of a lot of the U.S. spreading more democracy out there and making
Yeah.
sure but we're not get the
Yeah.
politics of it. But I think it'll be okay. I think we'll
Yeah.
we'll genetically modify in a good way some more crops that do better in cold or hot climates, and then we'll produce more. And I don't know. I don't know what the holistic solution will look like, but it'll definitely
Yeah.
be our grandkids problem. I'll say.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
it'll be our grandkids problem.
Yeah. Because at this moment, the U.S. is still like we produce more food than we can consume. So it's not going to be a problem tomorrow, but you probably should start thinking about it today. But yeah, well, that'll do it for that topic. Let's get into
Yeah.
a little